Rob from FeiyuTech here, and today I'm reviewing the F23 Action Cam. I've been eyeing up this camera for quite some time because it's around $35 and has near identical hardware to a very well respected camera called the SJ4000. As you may know, I've been trying to get my hands on one of these for quite some time and ended up with two knockoffs, but the one from GearBest finally arrived, and it's safe to say I'm glad I waited. If all you need is a simple 1080p 30 camera, I see no reason to spend more money unless you are concerned about quality control with these cheap unbranded products. Do note that the sensor in this camera is only 3 megapixels, not 12 as advertised, so the still images are not as high resolution, but in terms of video it does quite a good job. For build quality, the camera is as standard as it gets. The 1.5-inch screen looks tiny by comparison to other cameras I've reviewed, but it's visible enough in daylight. The camera's buttons have a solid click to them, and its body is constructed without gaps. I noticed that the waterproof case is a little bit tighter than other cameras I've reviewed, which is really nice. It means the camera feels a lot more solid inside the case. From the exterior, it looks identical to the original unbranded SJ4000s, but the insides are not the same. I'll talk more about that in a moment. Video quality from this camera is exactly what I expected, and that's a good thing. It is tack sharp with lots of detail and good color balance. Initially I thought I'd be giving this camera away after reviewing it, but seeing the video footage, I think I'm going to keep it as a simple bike DVR for when I'm road riding. I've been a little bit spoiled reviewing other cameras with 60 frames per second recently, so the video to me doesn't seem as smooth as it could be, and I do notice a little bit of jitter transitioning between different light scenes. Night video is where the camera starts to struggle quite a lot. I notice that frames blur together and become soft. It's not unusable until it's very dark out, but keep this in mind that the camera will not be particularly good at night. In terms of audio quality, I have no complaints. I honestly expected to hear nothing when the camera was inside its waterproof case, but you can actually hear my voice, and that's more than I can say about most other cameras I've reviewed. This is what the audio sounds like.
Hey there, Rob from FeiyuTech, and today I'm testing F23 Action Cam.
Still images on this camera are alright considering how low resolution they are. Remember that this camera is primarily meant for video, so the sensor is very low megapixel count. Less pixels means better night video because each pixel can pick up more light individually. In a pinch, the still photos from this camera will work, but well, don't expect to show them on much more than a computer screen or small print format. In terms of other things about this camera, I noticed that it will randomly reset the date on me. It also defaults to 2034, which is kind of strange. Other than that, I really had no issues with it, until I tried to update the firmware. I was in a little bit of a destructive mood to say the least, and I decided to try and install the SJ4000 firmware onto this camera. Well, needless to say it didn't work. Something inside of the camera must be different. If you decide to experiment, I left a link to the original firmware below. Just make sure it's the right one before you install it. Overall, this camera would work well for someone who needs a simple and straightforward bike DVR without anything too fancy, or for someone who wants an action cam for irregular use and doesn't want to throw the cash down on something more expensive. This camera sets the standard for me for sub $50 action cams and even edges out many more expensive cameras in terms of video sharpness. This thing costs $35, and that's less than filling up my car. Visit FeiyuTech.com for more. Thanks for watching.